Hello everyone, this is Nikki Yu, also known as Faces Trader, and you're watching the Awesome 10X Philippine Market Update. Let's begin with the Philippines. Okay, so in the Philippine market, you see actually some buyers, but particularly in the mining sector. Notice this one, mining sector is up 5%. That is a huge return versus the rest of the indices. Now, when it comes to market value, most of it is still very low. At 4.9 billion, we're still half the value turnover. You've got some sellers continuing still, but there are also some advancers. So let's take a look first on the index before we go into the gainers of the day. So in the index, okay, in the index, you could see that a majority of the stocks were still within a range, 2%, 1%, or 3%. So for the gainers, you've got SM Prime 36.5, Ayala Land 33.7, PLDT 1275, BDO 105, AGI 11, MPI 395, GT Cap 531.5, Metrobank 44.35, Robinsons Retail 55, Bloomberry 7, DMC 529, FGen 30, Security Bank 119, SM 980. Amongst the losers, Emperador 1048, ICT 126.5. LPG 1366, AEV 3575, Robinson's Land 1778, San Miguel Corporation 116.5, Globe 1835, Aboitiz Power 23.5, Pure Gold 3665, URC 129.5, Meralco 275, GG Summit 60 pesos 65, BPI 83, Mega World 335, AC 764, Jollibee 180. So what we can clearly see here is a huge drop on your Pure Gold. It's actually now trading at 36.65, quite a steep drop from its 40 peso area. And you could see that URC is slowly going down 129.5. You are also seeing the inability for many companies in the Philippines to actually rise. What's resilient? Amongst the Philippine, I would say that even if the market is continually down, you could see that ICT is quite resilient at 126. And then resiliency on, relatively speaking, your JFC at 180 is steady at the peaks, no? Steady siya. So that tells you some strength. And the banks in general, even if we think that there's very low growth, they still have stayed remaining above. Your BDO is still 105. So BPI is still high at about 83. So technically speaking, it's not highest, but it's still relatively higher than the rest, no? Now, let's take a look at the most top traded. Top traded names, APL. Your APL rising 3 cents or 16%. So a lot of people have been trading today. Some of your non-index names, we did notice that, APL has been stuck in a range. And today, it went up 16%. Good job for that. At least it shows to the people that there's still some signs of life. And you can see as well, NIKL FNI actually moving up. I'll show to you the top gainers for the day in terms of value traded. APL is 1. Your PLC, 13% at 47 cents. You also get this one, Philex Mining, up 12%. You are seeing, of course, your miners today all rising 10%. And then you've got FNI rising 8%. Your Mark is going up 9%. Your Nihao, your Nickel Asia, it's up 4%, etc. So we could clearly see that in the Philippine market, the miners are going up. Why are they going up? Let's read the news. There's actually a news clip in the Philippines about that. Duterte is lifting moratorium on new mining agreements. Let's read this together. On April 15, this government of the Philippines is now entering into new mineral agreements, provided that these would comply into the country's mining laws. He lifted all the mining agreements imposed by the former President Benigno Aquino in 2012. The government may enter into new mineral agreements subject to compliance with Philippine Mining Act of 1995. So he's permitting new mining deals to usher significant economic benefits to the country. How will the mining industry support various projects? It will provide raw materials for the build, construction and development of other countries, even the Balik Probinsya and the Balik Pag-asa, Bagong Pag-asa program, increasing employment opportunities in remote rural areas where there are mining activities, thereby stimulating countryside development. Under this law, The Department of Environment, DENR, is going to formulate terms and conditions in the new mineral agreements, strictly implementing mines safety and environmental policies. So obviously, this news is very helpful for the mining sector, and that is what you are seeing today in the mining sector. So APL rising it. For those who aren't aware, I believe that APL has a mining agreement. So most of the companies today that rose are particularly in the mining sector. So all of them are mining. APL, MAB, PX, ORE, LCB, LC, MARC, FNI. Yeah, all of these are all mining related names. Other than that news, what else can we discuss today? Let's take a look at the technology. The biggest news would be mining, pero there's also news on our Moderna vaccine. So let's read that, no? Let's let's read this one. I want to read what Macro Asia wants to do. So Macro Asia is shifting gears during COVID-19 as it is scaling back on its core aviation services to focus on water distribution and even telecommunications. Macro Asia has been hammered by the global health crisis because it is a major ground handling and aircraft maintenance provider. They recorded a 1.8 billion peso net loss. Revenues fell 63%, the largest decline coming from in-flight catering and ground handling. This also came along the aggressive right-sizing program, which included reducing its workforce by 44% in 2020. It's now focused on growing its non-airline related businesses, including 3 operating water companies in Boracay, Cavite, and Nueva Vizcaya. So they're trying to diversify. The water business will grow significantly better in the years ahead. And the company is even looking into a secure and means of communications compared to conventional radio systems. They want to do radio trunking. Macro Asia said that in several years, there's an investment in digital radio trunking system. With the impending completion of regulatory requirements, we will be operational in the first half of 2021, opening new avenues for cost control and revenue growth. So they will fund this with its own cash or even from a little debt from partner banks within the year. I think that's just a way to explain to the Filipinos that Macro Asia is not going to be situated in just one sector. So it's a good thing. I think I want to read about the vaccines. No? So let's read about the things that are happening in the Philippines politically to. Kasi we need to understand how we are addressing the situation when it comes to our local vaccination. Sige, let's read it. DTI has now estimated 180 billion pesos in economic loss just from 2 weeks of ECQ. Grabe, if you just multiply that to 10 weeks, how many pa? Eh di 1.8 trillion. Times 5 mo, di 900 billion kung 10 weeks. So really, that's really a huge chunk of losses for the Philippine economy. Dahil doon, ang estimate po ay 1% ng GDP. Kung ang GDP po natin is 18 trillion pesos. So, establishments were trimmed down such as health facilities, delivery services, naging essential na lang yung natira. So, we have to ease the community quarantine so that more establishments are allowed to reopen and operate at a higher capacity. Okay, yeah, very important. This one is also something important to discuss. There seems to be brewing political events now with Taiwan and USA. Taiwan is telling Biden emissaries that the island will counter China's adventurous maneuvers with US. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen told emissaries visiting at US President Joe Biden's request that the island would work with US to deter adventurous maneuvers and provocations amid the threats from Chinese military activities. Senior US officials, including US Senator Chris Dodd, are visiting Taipei as a commitment to Taiwan and its democracy. So you know naman na Taiwan is against China. So the US partnership with Taiwan is stronger than ever, and that the visit was to reaffirm Biden's commitment to the island. We are very willing to work with like-minded countries like US to jointly safeguard the peace and stability of Indo-Pacific and deter adventurous maneuvers and provocations. She vowed to continue to operate to counter cognitive warfare and misinformation, but didn't elaborate. Taiwan is China's most sensitive territorial issue and a major source of contention with Washington, which is required by the US law to provide the island with the means to defend itself. There's some psychological impact. Everyone should have confidence in our armed forces. The unofficial US visit, called a personal signal of the president's commitment to China claim Taiwan, is further straining the Chinese-US relations. Okay, so just so you know, macro-wise, China and US fighting over Taiwan. Okay, government is in advanced talks with 6 potential local vaccine makers. Let's understand this. The Philippines is trying to sustain the country's supply needs for jabs. DOST Undersecretary Ms. Rowena Cristina Guevara said that the government is talking with pharma that have expressed intents to set up vaccine-making facilities in the country. These are local pharmaceutical companies. Wala pa tayong local vaccine manufacturers in the Philippines. These local pharma are trying to come up with a new product, which is a vaccine. Guevara refused to identify the companies. Negotiations are still ongoing. But the first local distributor of a South Korean firm is in discussion with 2 other companies to form a venture. The second company has extensive facilities in Asia, she said, adding the only vaccines the country needs, such as those against rubella, polio, human immunodeficiency virus, tuberculosis, COVID-19, and other non-COVID-19 diseases being manufactured by its prospective foreign partner. The fourth company is a connection with a vaccine developer in Germany, baka ito yung BioNTech. Guevara said it's considering starting its local vaccine manufacturing business with a fill and finish facility. The fifth company is a long-term partner of a Chinese vaccine producer interested in local manufacturing, talking to fast-track their plans. 6 companies looking for a possible partner, given NDC a pre-feasibility study. They intend to initially do form and fill up for other vaccines and eventually do COVID-19. So I think this one is good. 6 companies want to facilitate COVID production, vaccine production against COVID in the Philippines. That would be good so that we can really hopefully reopen within a year's time. She confirmed that the vaccines may be produced by late 2022. Wow, tagal na, but at least. Heavily relying on imported anti-coronavirus shots. First production, well established, already being used in the country's national immunization program before producing COVID-19 shots. No COVID-19 being developed in the Philippines. Vaccine panel head is underscoring a need for locally produced COVID-19 jabs. Okay, so because there's no COVID-19 vaccines being produced here, a lot of companies are applying already. So hopefully, magkaroon na yan, the advanced talks will happen so that we'll have more production. Sige. So, given that today's news is mostly in the mining, let's take a look first on these mga mining companies for the day, no? And then I'll talk about, if we have time, let's talk about in the global market updates, Grab pa rin. So, AGC, aka Grab. So, I think most Filipinos should be aware that you can now invest globally and it doesn't take a lot of money. So, pag-usapan natin yan later. Pero, sige, for the Philippines, pag-usapan muna natin yung mga gumalaw na mining stocks. So, mining-related to. So, umangat siya, 16% Apollo Global because of that mining moratorium lift. So, let's just say na the Filipinos are happy with that mining moratorium lift. So, we have that buy arrow here on APL. How high can this go? In the short term, we do see na there might be resistance here, whether it's 26 cents or 29 cents. But in the short term, you can also see a very strong support now at 21 cents for Apollo Global. And then mining, no? So we saw syempre, it's positive on your Nickel Asia. So you see this buy arrow on Nickel Asia. How high can Nickel Asia go? Can it likely go to about 6 pesos again? So we're bullish here, but we don't know how high. But the beautiful thing about it is that at the very least, kahit na low volume, at least today, it has volume on the upside. At least on the mining sector. Kahit isang sector man lang, pa isa-isang sector. Certainly, there's a resistance right now at 569 and 605. But let's see. At least in the short term, you also know that 510 is a support for your Nickel Asia. FNI also did well. Strong support here at 2. Today, rallied from 245 to about 270. Diba? So higher low here at 250, rallied to 270. Still got some resistances perhaps here at 3 and 320. But it should be noted na it's a trading range. You've got movements on your miners. So Philex Mining went up. Your ano yung mga other than ATL, FNI, nickel. Yeah, your mark also went up today. Pero yun nga, low volumes to eh. Philex Mining went up. LC went up. PLC went up today. So what is the news on PLC? Let's read on this news on PLC. PLC is up 14% today. 13% at 47 cents. Okay. Yun, may volume. News and disclosures, let's see. Declaration of cash dividends. So April 15, 2021, PLC reported that they are reporting a 4 centavo cash dividend to anyone who owns it prior to April 28, 2021. So if you are looking at the prices, 40 centavos siya before, that's 40 cents at 4 cents, you've got a 10% yield. So a lot of Filipinos who wants a yield will likely want to own PLC. So that is a very attractive yield, and that's one reason why PLC continues to be on the uptrend today, and why it has some buyers even if it was very low volume. So cash dividends are a good thing, so that even if you wait a year before recovery, at least binayaran kanya ng 4 centavos or about 10%. So similarly, those who have PLC might wish to hold on to their shares, or they'll sell perhaps dito sa 55 after the April 28, no? So usually we see a movement the way that Semirara actually used to go up because of that 10% yield. Notice mo, umangat siya and then bumaba. So PLC, I think, would do the same thing. Up siya ngayon and then eventually down. Pero I don't know how high. Pwede siya mag 50 cents muna because of that dividend. Okay, let's read about other than that dividend news. Okay, so let's take a look more on the nickel markets worldwide. The nickel markets are very bullish in China. A sudden opening stirred China's nickel market. Talk of higher premiums in the US are doing it because of auto industry. Chinese import market for full plate nickel became active. Last week, the market was still relatively quiet with good opportunities. Shanghai trader-based trader told Fast Markets on Tuesday. Market sentiment remains positive towards the nickel market. So, yun. Then, nickel demand for electric vehicles is outpacing lithium and cobalt. So as battery metals continue to rise in the forefront of attention, much has centered around lithium and cobalt. Governments have enacted policies to encourage investment into this critical raw material that they deem essential for the green energy transition. At the same time, supply chains concerning surrounding nickel have begun to garner increasing focus. So as a key component of the battery cathode chemistry in many existing and upcoming electric vehicles, nickel remains an important metal to watch for in the next decade. So Fitch has already estimated that the EV manufacturing on nickel consumption will of course increase the demand for an average growth rate of 29% over the next 10 years, outpacing even lithium and cobalt demand. So for all those Nickel Asia shareholders and all those FNI nickel shareholders, I think that you're very bullish in the next 10 years. And one of the reasons why we felt that it was really a 10x industry, both acid and nickel, because of these metrics. EV battery demand continuing to go higher. So this is what you're seeing with nickel, and this is of course lithium. So even lithium has been strong, no? So yun. The estimates are of course the demand really for EVs. So if you're bullish on the EV transition, which we are, you would be bullish on these metals. minor pero specifically on nickel. So yun. Automakers such as BMW, Hyundai, and Renault uses the nickel NMC chemistry in their vehicles. That's Tesla is employing NCA, which is lithium nickel cobalt aluminum oxide chemistry. Going forward, Tesla will exchange its NCA chemistry for 3 different offerings based on vehicle cost and performance. They think it's lithium iron phosphate, NMC, and a high nickel cobalt free option. Nickel will be supported by metal's persisting popularity in battery cathode chemistry with the downside risk caused by concerns over the future supply availability. However, battery-grade nickel may encourage automakers to explore lithium iron phosphate batteries for mass market vehicles. So maraming vehicles in the future electric, so they would be needing that. So battery metals, here's how lithium, cobalt, rare earth graphite, nickel, and copper could make your kid rich. All right, so by 2030, UBS predicts we'll need a lot of manganese, lithium, cobalt, rare earths, nickel, and copper if all the car makers are gonna be hitting those ambitious production targets. So far, the penetration rate of EV is 4% currently, and they might expand to 5x or 20% by 5 years, or even 10x in 2030, 4% or 12x to 50%. That's from 3 million to 46 million per year. Meanwhile, the average battery size will increase from 47 kilowatt hour to 94 kilowatt hour. So by 2030, they're already predicting lithium demand will increase by 11x from 400,000 to 4.4 million tons. Graphite demand will grow to 700%. Nickel will grow from 2.6 million to 5.8. Rare earth demands like neodymium and praseodymium will face a step change. Cobalt demand will expand, and by 2030, copper consumption in electric vehicles are averaging from 90 kilograms versus 20 kilograms, will represent a demand of at least 4.4 million metric tons. So yun. That's only just 9 years away, guys. So by that time, your kids will be able to have a property on their own. So they will never need to be saving up for a deposit. So, yun. Think about it. How will you earn money? Think about all the miners in the world. Last night, actually, I'll share to you some companies other than yung Philippines. So sa Philippines, we can only know about yung mga NIKL Asia and FNI. Pero I think in the US, I should tell you na for copper, I've been discussing this one. Not sure if you were listening to me in the global market updates, but I remember discussing Freeport, copper, Freeport McMoran. Dire-diretso yan. Gold and copper kasi siya, but definitely largest copper si Freeport McMoran. So new highs siya, all-time highs. Let's take a look as well in steel, no? X yung steel, United States. United States Steel and POSCO. So up yan, ayan no, all-time highs. Papuntang all-time high to. Si ArcelorMittal din, guys, aangat to. So XMT, PKX. I'll give you lang some ideas, no, for your metal idea. POSCO Steel will also do very well. Tingnan mo, notice nyo, all-time highs lang yan. So we were talking about them. Medyo late na ako actually sa mga industrial demand. Mga January, I highlighted it pa rin. Pero na mga October na ako yun. Mga October, January na ako dyan nagtitingin-tingin sa mga steel. ArcelorMittal, US Steel, POSCO Steel, malakas to. Ito yung mga leaders in industrial steel demand. Ayun, all-time high lang, guys. So, I think dire-diretso lang to. So, any dips would be bought papuntang higher to. So, kung gusto niyo ng mga all-time high place, I'd say go for industrial demand. Now, when it comes to rare earth, hindi ako masyado pa nakakapag-aral, pero I'll give you some ideas when I learn it. Pero ang mga na-verify ko lang is tong XMT, PKX, steel muna, tapos sa nickel, alam na natin, NIKL Asia tayo. So, dun tayo sa alam natin, sa Philippines sa NIKL Asia. Okay, so let's take a look at any questions, if any. Good day for the miners. I think very clear na miners ang goal ninyo sa Philippine market. Hi, Nikki. Thoughts on the Nation IPO? I haven't seen the valuation. I haven't seen the prospectus, but I think that it's a good IPO, but it shouldn't be expected to grow fast depending on the valuation pa rin. I like Mondenisin perhaps because it's a good alternative to Filipinos looking for a stable cash flow company. I expect them to do something like something like 30 times PE. Siguro similar yan to URC in terms of pricing. Pero hindi ko pa alam kung magkano i-sell ang Mondanisim. Will Atok Big Wedge benefit from the agreement? I think Atok Big Wedge was an oil-related play. So yung mining moratorium, sa bagay, I'm not sure what their siguro magbe-benefit, pero I think mas sigurado ako sa Nickel Asia because nickel tayo or FNI, yung dalawa. Kasi mas naniniwala ako sa nickel demand dahil naniniwala ako sa electric vehicles and the batteries. Hindi ko actually, ano ba yung minamine ng APL? Rare earth ba yung minamine nila? APL mining. Kasi alam ko lang nagma-mining siya pero ano ba to? Magnetite? Di ko actually alam kung ano yung kung sino yung end client ng magnetite Pero kung related siya sa EVs, I think it's a good thing. Thoughts on PLC? Already answered PLC. I think PLC means that angat siguro siya ng 50 cents. May buyer siguro siya sa 40. Kung umangat man siya, baka mag 52 cents. Pero may resistance na naman yan. Kasi all you have to know is that it is a good dividend play, but we don't know how high it can go. So some people might even sell today and then they'll sell again tomorrow in case mag 50 cents yun. Now, you might wonder, why would they sell at 50 cents? Don't they like 4 centavo cash dividend? They would only sell it if they think na matagal pa yung casino reopening. So it's really a function of that. The good thing is that the company can pay dividends even if casinos definitely don't have much earnings. Pero yun, I don't know if it's worth to chase. I think in terms of buying, hindi naman mahal ang 47 cents. Kasi 4 centavos cash div, magkano yun? You still have a decent 7% ba yun? 7% yield. 4 cents versus 47, 46. Okay pa rin, pero so mura siya. Mura siya given that every year naman magbibigay talaga si PLC ng 4 centavo cash dividend. Yun. What price should I buy? X. So you're talking about the steel, no? So United States Steel. Technically speaking, when you're buying mga all-time high moves, usually I'll just get a moving average. So si X last night, $22, pwede na yun. Right now it's 22.87. So 4% higher. Try to see if makabili ka sa 22. But 22, 2018, okay siya. Basta mga $20 average. So usually what I'll do is, let's say hindi mo makuha yung 22, kahit na 22.8, 1% allocation, and then 1% allocation sa 22, 1% allocation sa 21. Tapos basta, as low as you can, try to buy, accumulate at an average of $20. As for nickel, I think it's very clear that you've got a support at 5.3 below kasi nagkaroon ka ng news, di ba, na na-lift yung moratorium, and you really have that high-end demand for their meron ka talagang supply and demand situation in the world that benefits Nickel Asia. So I think like you just have to buy it 5.3 even if it goes to 5 pesos and then just accumulate within a price kahit na mag 4.9 pa siya. Yeah, so the Philippines is going nowhere, but US is going up all-time highs. Should I be selling Philippine stocks while loading up on US stocks? I think sa US, I like companies that are very, very proven kasi yung cash flows ng US names. You've got a lot of all-time highs. And personally speaking, I am very proud to own companies like Grab. Grab is entering the SPAC. So I think it's not about selling the Philippines, but really diversifying your portfolio. Think about it. Gusto mo ba magkaroon ng fintech leader of Southeast Asia? And I think fintech leaders of Southeast Asia are Alibaba, owning Ant Financial. You've got AI leaders like Palantir. You've got AI leaders like NVIDIA. And you've got a big company like Grab entering in the US listing. So through AGC. I think that for Filipinos, you've made a lot of opportunities pass by simply by looking only at the Philippines. So it's time that you have to tell yourself that for the next decade, from 2021 till 2030, if you haven't invested in the best companies, it's not really about forsaking the Philippines. It's really about asking yourself, where does your money have to be? It doesn't even have to be the fact that US is at all-time highs, although that is really telling you how money is voyeuring into where the money is flowing, where money is growing. If it will not grow in the Philippines, money will not flow here. So in the Philippines, I think that the growth is in the sectors like mining. So nickel, you might want to hold on to it. But if you're like telling me na I'm just in a traditional bank and then I like fintech further because I can see cashless transactions, look no further. The biggest fintech move perhaps is all in the United States. You've got GCash through Alibaba, you've got Grab through GrabPay, you've got Razorpay, you've got C Money. Of course, Alipay and WeChat, that's your Alibaba and Tencent. You've got Square, you've got StoneCo in Brazil, you've got Humble Pay for like 40 plus countries. So in that front, I'd say that tell yourself secular trend is this. And if the Philippines cannot capture it, I have to diversify for my safety of my money. It's not even about, it's not really about forsaking the Philippines. It's just asking yourself a simple question. Which company will generate the most jobs in the future? Is it the banks or is it fintech? If the answer is the banks will eliminate a lot of their physical retail banking spaces in lieu of digital, you've already answered your own question, right? So how does commission rates work? Is it every percent or fixed amount? What is the pattern day trading rule? In the US, it's really fixed. So $1 fee for everything, whether you're buying $1,000 worth or just $100 worth, or even just $50, everything will just cost $1. So the PDT is the pattern day trading rule. It only applies if your account is less than $25,000. So example, if you were to buy Grab, AGC, why am I talking about Grab? I love Grab because it's one of those businesses that's really helping double bottom line. They're helping 5 million, at least 5 million Grab drivers, not just in the Philippines, but the entire Southeast Asia. They're doing cloud kitchens, which is helping the restaurants and the small, medium enterprises, even your Jolly Jeep vendors, to actually be able to deliver their stuff to the wider public. So you are also seeing Grab Ventures. What is Grab Ventures? Grab Ventures is helping the local folks actually enable them to do microfinancing through the simple Grab Pay. So if you're a Grab driver, you could see that your children can potentially graduate school with the Grab drivers initiative of there's a lot, like there's what you call the Grab for Good. Grab for Good is going to be 10% or $450 million funding round for the entire Grab drivers, for their medical health insurance, for their children, for the entire Grab employees. So I see that the biggest sector that you have to understand is the entire Southeast Asian gorilla. I call it a gorilla. If last year you heard me talk so great about C Limited, which is what you know, Shopee, we've made a lot of money on Shopee and it will continue to grow, by the way. In the Philippines, the number one is Shopee, the number two is Lazada, the number three is, I don't know. I only know of Shopee and Lazada in the Philippines when it comes to online shopping. So maybe the number three would be Instagram, but it's not necessarily number three because Instagram is Facebook, which you can buy a lot online. You go straight direct to consumer yon. For the people who are asking, how can I buy AGC? AGC is a SPAC, and the SPACs is meaning Special Purpose Acquisition Company. They're listed at $10 SPAC deal, $40 billion yon. That said, it's not cheap. But I do think that if you think about the next 5 years, the transition of the entire Southeast Asia is so strong to the digital world. Digital transactions is your that's why they call it the everyday everything app. I have a lot of I broke down the entire my beautiful ideas on AGC, aka Grab. I talked about it inside the Awesome 10X Inner Circle. So I'd like anyone who's watching this to actually try to go to my to join the Inner Circle. Visit awesome10x.com. Try to watch my in-depth deep dive on that company, which is Grab. But definitely, if you want to make money, definitely invest in the best. So if that best company is in Southeast Asia, but it's not listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange, you have to find your way to buy it. Even if it's not in eToro, it's so simple. You can buy it in interactive brokers. IBKR doesn't even ask you to invest a lot of money. You can open an account for only $1,000. Actually, there's no minimum. To be honest, if you deposit $500, it's fine. But I tell people that if they open an interactive broker's account, it makes sense that they open at least $1,000 or $2,000. And do you know that the interest rate in IBKR is just 1.59% interest a year? 1 year yon, but it only applies if your account is $2,000 above. And I don't like to do day trading kasi I like the companies that I love. So parang if I would day trade, parang what could I make in a day trade? Maybe 10%, maybe 50%, magaling na ako. But if I really hold on to this great company, my $1,000 can eventually become $5,000 or even $3,000 man lang. So those are the things that I look at. Parang I'd rather cost average and make money while sleeping. Kasi think about it this way. If you did that for simple companies that you and I both love, Spotify, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Alibaba, you'll make a lot of money, even your C-limited. So I don't like people to look only at, hindi naman ako trader, so hindi ako makikita ng pera dyan. Actually, for instance, Zoom video, you'd have 10x your, hindi man 10x, mga 7x. Kasi if you got in at $80, nag 560 yon, ngayon $320, $330, you can still make some money there. So $330, kung umangat ng $500 yan someday, given that 100 plus countries, ang dami, like you've got everyone, default nila yung Zoom video. So mga ganon, like the rise of remote work, the determinant of your future, guys, is how you invest your money. Now, if you're gonna just put your money in the Philippine companies, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think that Filipinos are savvy, digital savvy, and you deserve more. You know, you deserve better. You deserve growth of 5x, 10x your money. And if it isn't happening in the Philippine markets, it's your responsibility, not for anyone, but for yourself. Paano naman yung sasabihin ng anak mo? Sabihin ng anak mo, Dad, nag-invest po ba tayo sa Grab? Sabi mo, hindi. Dad, nag-invest po ba tayo sa Tesla? Sabi mo, hindi. Bakit? 'Di ba? Ang tanong, bakit hindi ka nag-invest? Ang liit-liit na nga lang ng pera mo, tapos hindi mo pa siya pinapalago. Anong ginagawa mo sa pera mo? So, isipin mo na lang yung kapakanan ng anak mo, hindi kapakanan mo. Tapos, by then, tatama lahat ng desisyon mo. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.